Okay, we bought an older Kubota tractor with an end loader. The tractor is an L245. The end loader was not marked. All the markings were rusted or destroyed in some way. But through some of the forums, it's been identified as a model 1200 loader. And we were having problems with one of the seals leaking on the bottom end of that cylinder right there. So we bought a kit. I'll show you the kit a little bit later so you'll know what to buy and where to get it. And we began the process of rebuilding. I couldn't find anything on the internet about how to rebuild this thing or any images, so we're trying to create something here. I hope will help somebody else going through the same thing. To disassemble it, I did not film this part, but we start by removing this end piece right here. You just turn it counterclockwise and there's a metal clip that comes out of that little slot right there. Once that clip is out, that piece is ready to come out of the main cylinder part up there. Once that end piece, the clip, has been removed, you can just pull that shaft right out of the center of that cylinder. You may need to put a pry bar on it and work it out of there. There is a way to loosen the nut at the far end, but just for the purpose of getting it all out of there and replacing all the gaskets, it's really not necessary. Just pull the shaft clear out, and then we can take it to a workbench and be ready to put all the new gaskets and O-rings on. Okay, we got the shaft pulled out, and we went ahead and pulled this off of the end of here. And if we undo this nut, which we did with a wrench, and somebody else has done it before, it looks like. And then this comes off the end of the piston. And after that allowed us to remove this piece here. And inside of here were all the gaskets that were leaking. So we took this apart. We started by pulling the oil seal out of the end, the wiper seal out of the end of here, and then removing the little spring clip and the snap ring clip. Pulled that out, and then pulled all of this out. Now these are all the parts that were inside there. They were mangled, twisted, and broken. As you can see, most of them were either bent or completely split out. And that's where the leak was coming through. The pressure was getting through these and up to and passing this oil seal at the end. So we've got the new kit to put in here now. To locate the kit for this, we found a manual for the model 1200 loader, but it was a little bit crude and hard to read, but we discovered that the same manual for the 1700 loader has the same instructions for rebuilding the master cylinder, the main lift cylinder. So in here we'll look at some of the diagrams that explain the breakdown and where all the pieces from the kit go. The diagram is right here. You can see the different ways that you're supposed to assemble this, the different pieces in the order they go in, and how to remove each piece. If you do a quick Google search for the L1700 loader, you'll find this manual. It's easy to download, so you can see a little bit better detail. We looked up the kit number and found out that it's this number right here, the 70050-00301. Several places sell it. This was probably the cheapest one right here. A lot of different places available, and it's got all the seals for each end of that cylinder, the piston end and the big
sealing end. We got the kit in and laid it out and took a look at it. We've got the different pieces here. The one in the bag is the end of the piston, and this other stack goes in the cylinder end. Plus there's a couple of O-rings and the oil seal for the end and a new clip to go on that main end piece that we first took apart. So here's how we began putting it together.
The new kit consists of these parts here. We've got the new oil seal that will go in the end after we're finished. Then all these parts here okay, we have inserted all of these pieces down into here. The thought process on the direction and the order, this hard plastic white one, I would assume, I am believing that it is the brace to hold the rubber ones in place and shaped. So it would need to be the last thing in line with the pressure, and all the pressure comes from this side as it's mounted in the cylinder. So all the pressure's over here, which means we don't want it to come past here. So the lips are inside here, and this is pressed in to hold those in place. So now all we have to do is install the last two pieces. We put all of the black ones first with the other end piece that we had, then the white one. Then we're going to put this on here, and it says to install the metal washer, and then we have to press this down far enough to get the snap ring in place, and that snap ring goes in that groove. So we've got quite a bit of compressing to do. We're going to use a C-clamp to see if we can get some pressure in there and press that down enough to get the snap ring in place. So here we go. Okay, what we're doing now, we're going to take, I put this snap ring in here. Let me see if I can get a better video here. There we go. I put the washer and that end piece and the snap ring in here and used my snap ring pliers that I picked up recently from Harbor Freight, very handy, to get the snap ring back in place. It's in here, but it's not in the groove. We have to compress this down until we get the snap ring low enough. So what I've got is a C-clamp arrangement here, and I'm going to use this as a bushing to get inside here so I can clamp on this and push that snap ring down. I think it's big enough. It just fits in there just right. So we're going to lay this down here. Trying to get a good look in there to see if we're below the snap ring slot yet. No, we're not far enough yet. Whoop, hey, one corner of it is in place in the ring. So we're getting there. If I do it again and put the pressure on this side so we can try to get this side down in. Give it a little extra pressure to try to get it comfortable down in that hole. Alright, I think we're in the groove. All the pieces are in place and they are well compressed. I'm sure it's going to be interesting to get this on the shaft. The instructions say to taper. We're going to taper the end of this shaft off. It says to take this sharp edge down so that we can we can slide these on there and have them in their compressed state slip up over here onto the shaft well. So we're going to begin that process next. Actually, I think first we will go ahead and take care of the gaskets on here. Okay, we're going to start pulling the rest of these gaskets off of this end of the piston. Tight one, and this other one is sliding easily. Okay, there we are. So I think that recreating that with new parts will be easy, just like so. And here's our new kit for this part. Hasn't even been out of the bag. Okay, now we just need to insert that just like so on there. Gently so as to not damage anything. They will need compressed as well, but we'll do that in the last step of this assembly. I will explain that in a bit. Get them on there where they'll stay. All right, so that's ready to reinsert after we get this cylinder head, or this cylinder end put back on. So here we go. We're going to grind down our the end of our shaft, and I'll get back here when we're done. I left the old O-ring on there just to kind of protect the shaft if I did get a little wild. But we've made a nice taper, removed the sharp edge, and I think we'll be in good shape putting on the cylinder head over there, the end. that looks a lot better. No sharp edges sticking up that can scar the inside of the cylinder tube, which pretty sure this is smaller by quite a bit anyway, but just wanted to make sure we didn't have anything that could potentially cause an issue. Okay, the next big project at this point, we've got a good taper on here that should help to be able to install the end of the outside cylinder on here. And those gaskets in there are sticking down pretty good. That's what they're supposed to do. There'll be a tight seal against the shaft. So getting this inserted could be a little tricky. So what we're going to do now is get some hydraulic fluid in here and on here, and we're going to see about getting this baby put back together. Everything is ready. Everything on the shaft is good, and we will put that on first, and then we will replace this O-ring before we put the final piston end on here, and then the nut. Okay, now we did get that nut smoothed off to where there's no edges sticking up. Those old pipe wrench marks looked a little precarious to me. So here we go. We're going to get some hydraulic fluid opened up here. Get some fluid on there, a little bit of lubrication, a little bit more. Get inside these gaskets in here. Give them a good dose.
Just wanted to add a quick note that we did not film it, but before we put that end to the cylinder on that shaft, we did insert this part here, the last oil seal that goes in there after that snap ring. But we wanted to wait until we were ready to actually put it on the shaft to put it in. But don't forget to put it in there because it needs to be there before continuing to install the end of that cylinder.
It goes down to the other end. Let's see if we can give it a little assistance here. Take a look how we're doing. Like we're starting to slide up on there. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, after a lot of persuasion, we have got the end of the cylinder slid down on the shaft. We had to use the nut, slid over the top of here and used it to compress it down and press this through here. Got it down on the shaft, and now everything looks like it's in place. This does need to go farther down, so we're going to use a block of wood to drive it. Let's see if we can get it to slide on down now. Driving pretty easily. We'll go ahead and work that down towards the other end, and then we will assemble the piston head. Okay, we've got our end of the cylinder here slid down on the shaft most of the way. I think it'll be plenty good. Before we go any farther, we're going to stop and replace this O-ring here and the one on the end of the shaft where the piston head goes on. The last two pieces of our rebuild kit. Even though it looks okay, we will go ahead and replace it with a new one. Alright, there we go. We're going to slide the new O-ring on there now. And see dropped into the groove. There we are. The O-ring has been replaced. So now we'll move on out here to the end one. And do the same thing. Pop this little O-ring off of here. It's just sitting there on the shaft. Not a challenge at all to get him off. And we'll pop the new one on. There we are. Both O-rings have been replaced. Now we're ready to begin assembling the piston head. Okay, we're getting ready to put the end of the piston on. We went ahead and put our new O-rings on, so we've got this assembly ready now. The O-ring sits in this groove right here, so we're going to slide that on there. And then we're going to apply the nut that holds it together. Now, one of the oddities about this arrangement, we knew we were replacing these gaskets as well as the ones in the other end when we took it apart, so we didn't worry about the process. But if you are taking this shaft out of the cylinder with the intent of not replacing these gaskets on this end, there is a unique process for that. Before you pull this shaft out of the main cylinder housing, if you pull the hose off of the upper end, you'll see that hose fitting lines up with this hole right here. And what you're supposed to do is stick a bolt or a chisel or something down in there, a punch I mean, down into that hole to hold it, and turn the other end of the shaft to loosen this nut so that these compressed gaskets are relaxed and move smoother within the cylinder, and you can pull it out of the cylinder body. I didn't do all that. We just went ahead and pried it out of there because I knew we were replacing these. But to put these back in, you put this together and you just snug the nut up. The gasket and the piston head here are loose so that they're not compressed and spread where they'll be difficult to get in. We're ready to slide this up into the outside part of the cylinder on the tractor, and then apply the final clip that holds it in place. So when we get it on there, after we get it installed, we'll take this nut here, we'll have this hole, we'll get that turned to where it's lined up with the pipe fitting where the hose hooks onto the upper part of the cylinder, and we'll stick a bolt or something down through there to go into this hole, and then we'll turn the shaft on the other end to tighten this up tight. And that will expand these seals here to fill the tube tight and create a good tight fit inside the outer cylinder for the hydraulics to press. So we've got new gaskets here and new gaskets down on the other part inside of here. New O-rings on both ends, and once we get it in the tractor, we'll tighten this nut by holding it with the pin and turning the shaft, and then we'll be ready to put the final clip in and hook up the hoses and give her a shot. Okay, we've brought the shaft to the tractor now and pushed it into the end of the cylinder housing here. It went in fairly smooth, a little difficult. Used a block of wood to kind of knock it on in there gently. Got it, I think, most of the way in, and now we drove this in. It's ready for the clip that holds it in place. This clip here hooks into a hole, and then you turn it as it wraps around it and holds it in place. But before we do that, we're going to stick a pin in the end of here where the hose is to hold the nut and tighten turn the end of the shaft to tighten that nut we discussed earlier and get it tightened up in there and expand those seals tight. So I'm going to get that in there and do that right now. Okay, we have managed to stick a pin in that hole, catch that nut, and turned this shaft clockwise until the nut was tight on the end of the shaft. We used a pry bar in the hole to turn it with, and we now have it all snugged up good over there. So we are ready to line this up and put the final clip in and attach the hoses and give it a try. Alright, this is our final reassembled and tested cylinder. Everything looks good, no leaks, no problems with it. I did not film, I meant to film reinstalling this clip, but I didn't. We just put the end of it in there and turned this and it lines right back in and seals it up. But everything looks good. We have the success here. We raised it up and down a couple more times. The cylinder is working perfectly. Not a drop anywhere, so I think we're in good shape. There we go. Loader lifts. There's our rebuilt cylinder. No leaks, no problems. Everything working like a hallelujah, man. Hallelujah. Lower it back down. Filter bucket. Bring it back up. Lower the scoop. Good. That's really good.
Well, I hope that was helpful. Tried to document all we could. That was actually several months ago, and it's been working fine ever since. We use it quite a bit. Very pleased with the results. If you have any thoughts or questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you want to subscribe to our channel, we'll be posting some more things along. And God bless you all.